think I was supposed to get off at the last stop, but now the train's looks like it's down for maintenance or something. I don't know. Hey everyone, looks like we're going to be doing the live class from inside of this subway cart today because it's just stopped. I guess they're working on it, and but we. Okay, looks like the conductor is saying that it's going to be about at least 2 hours before they can get this moving again. So I guess that's enough time for us to do the class. I just want to say welcome everyone to our live stream for today. We're going to be covering the verb endings, Codinyo, Tanayo, and ko or koyo. So please check out the description for information about those, as well as the prerequisites for today. You want to be familiar with how to conjugate verbs in all tenses, as well as the chi and cho endings before starting the class today. Is there nothing else I can... I don't even see another stop around here. Okay, yeah, I guess we're stuck here. I guess we're stuck here for today. But we'll make do. So while I'm here anyway, let's see who's in the chat. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Yes, I did reach 500,000 subscribers just like a couple days ago, really late at night. It was too late to do a live stream right when it happened, so I did a live stream the next morning. But yeah, I'm really happy about that. Welcome. We have a few announcements before we get started with the lesson today, which will be in 14 minutes from now. The first announcement is if you are a Patreon member, you get to download all of the worksheets for every live stream I've ever done that I have worksheets for. You can get those right now, as well as this week's worksheet is already up there. You can also get all of the outlines for every live stream. So this one's for today. It's actually 2 pages for today. Today's live stream's got a lot of information in it. And you can download all of those as well on Patreon. Also, if you are a channel member, so it's different than Patreon, but channel members and Patreon members have different benefits. Channel members get access to watch all of the abridged versions, so all of these live streams, the same night that they finish. So tonight, after this live stream's over, if you check on my channel about 3 or 4 hours after it finishes, you can actually watch the abridged version of this very live stream that I've yet to do. So that'll be online tonight. So that's only for channel members. Also, channel members get priority for making requests. Patreon members do as well at the $5 tier. Anyway, you can check them out if you're curious exactly what the benefits are. They're a little bit different. Also, I have an active Discord channel. Well, at least the questions, some of the channels are pretty active. Some of them are quiet. But it's open 24/7, and there are even some native Koreans in there. Lots of people who help answer questions. You can just go there just to hang out with other people who are learning Korean. But again, yes, that's completely free. I put a link to it just now in the chat box, so you can check that out. And let's see here. The weather's getting a little bit nicer now. It's not as cold as it was, at least relatively. It's less cold. I don't know, though. I mean, the weather here is really nice. I'm not sure how it is where you are there. But I'll pin a t-shirt to the chat. I have some merchandise. It's just another way to support me. If you're interested, if there's something that catches your eye, you can check out the whole store for everything. And there's a link right there in the chat box. Let's see, what else do I need to do for announcements? Oh, yes. If you are a channel member, there is one more benefit you get. Starting tomorrow, you get to watch the brand new course. Well, you get to watch the first episode of the brand new course, Master Politeness Levels. So if you're a channel member, make sure to check the community tab tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch the first episode. You'll also get a new episode each week, and I'll make it so that by the time the actual course premieres for everyone, you'll have already had access to the first 4 or 5 episodes. So yeah, at least you'll get the first one starting tomorrow, so just keep an eye out for that. There is a new course coming out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a brand new course coming out, which will be completely free, premiering April 8th, called Master Politeness Levels. That is all about politeness levels, how to use them, how they work, how to mix them, everything. It's 24 episodes, completely free, and that will start April 8th for everyone, 1 per week. But if you are a channel member, you'll get to watch several episodes in advance. And like I just said, you'll get to watch the first episode tomorrow. So you won't have to wait until April to start the series. Anyway, that is all of the announcements I have for this lesson. So I can take questions. I'm open for anything before we start the actual lesson, which is 10 minutes from now. Hey, Secretive. Welcome to my moderator, Secretive, and thank you. Joe Turner. 안녕하세요. Hey, Joe Turner. Nice. Someone said, oh, Ayakata says you're exercising while watching the Korean class. That's good. You can put this live stream on your phone or on a tablet and exercise while watching it. Although you probably won't be able to write down any example sentences, you know, it's not bad. It's a good idea. Hey, Small. Cypher says, can you wear your hat backwards? No, it can't be worn backwards. It's one of those hats that just, you can't do it. It's impossible. Let's see. So if anyone has any questions, I can take those for about 10 minutes and then we'll get started with the lesson right at 2 o'clock. Welcome. I see several new people I've never seen before. So if you're new, this is your first stream, welcome. Fantasy World asks, what's the difference between verb conjugation and adjective conjugation? What I think you mean by that is action verb conjugation and descriptive verb conjugation. Since the term adjective is a word that's used to describe a noun, it's an English term, and Korean doesn't do that. Korean makes adjectives. You can have adjectives, words that describe nouns, but those are pre-conjugated verbs originally. Well, at least a lot of them are. There are separate adjectives in Korean which are not conjugated, but that's a separate lesson. But you're probably thinking about descriptive verbs and not the word adjective, in which case they both conjugate. And I have lessons about how to conjugate action verbs and descriptive verbs on my channel, as well as in my live stream playlist, as well as in the live stream abridged playlist. So yeah, that's what it is. But if you're talking about adjectives themselves, adjectives would already be fully conjugated, or they're already in their final form to be used directly before a noun. Hey, Jackie, have you heard that South Korea? Yes, I did. And I am going to be going to Korea again this year, as usual. I couldn't go in 2020, but other than that, I go every year. I'm in Korea about a third of every year, so I'll be there this whole summer. Is it from tomorrow? I don't know when it is from. I just know it's soon. But yeah, I already have, I got my plane tickets. I actually got my plane tickets last night. But I guess if you're looking to go to Korea, now's the time. Finally. You said, I want to visit my noise. My noise. That sounds nice. Oh, your niece. Okay. Small asks, is there a difference between han, 발, han, 걸음? There's a difference in how they're used. If you're trying to say one step, that's 걸음. 걸음 is for step. That's all I think you need to know about it. But if you want to know how they're used differently, you can check Naver's example sentences. But if you're talking about which one do I say for one step, it's 한 걸음. 걸음 is the counter used for a step. Or it's also the regular word used for a step. You can say like 첫 걸음, like the first step of doing something like that. When are you leaving? That's a secret, but I will be there the whole month of June and July, and that's all I'll say. So I don't want anyone to find me at the airport. But yeah, I'll be there this whole summer. Okay, let's see here. Goblin says, have you done a full course for advanced Korean learning? The new course I'm making, well, I finished several episodes already, but the new course I'm going to be sharing with everyone soon, Master Politeness Levels, that is for both intermediate and advanced level. I would say it's not for beginner level, but if you're beginner, at least make sure you know the basics before you watch it. So it's not for people who've never learned politeness levels before, because Well, I mean, you could, but for that, I would recommend first using the language and getting a feel of, some of the basics. Because in order to learn about politeness levels in detail, you need to already know the basics so that I can give sentences that use it and that you'd understand the grammar in the sentences, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't be for complete beginners, but maybe, maybe high-level beginners or people who've already learned all of the basics already. It's though really targeted at intermediate and advanced. So if you're advanced and you've been waiting for something more toward your level, then this is what it is. That's what it's for. You'll get a lot of new information out of this course. So I specifically made this course with intermediate and advanced learners in mind. But because I know many beginners will also watch it, there are also several lessons that are reviews of concepts. So like I'll review something and then we'll add more information to it first. So that's kind of how it works. Okay, Ori Sia says, I have a question. Do these sentences work with both yo and 습니다, politeness endings? No, those are separate politeness levels entirely. The forms we're learning today are all in the yo form level, although you could make them in casual. So they would be casual or yo form, not the 습니다 or 니다 ending. The 니다 ending would be formal speech. None of these are formal speech. These are verb endings. The same goes with the last 4 verb endings that we did 2 weeks ago. Those are also not formal speech. Julia, hey, welcome. Maya Maza, I guess that's how you pronounce it, Maya. Could you make a live stream about Hey guys, you go? I have. Check out my live stream lesson, the worksheet. What is it? The Google Doc. That's the word I was thinking of. There's a Google document that has all of the live streams and topics, and you'll find that in there. Someone said it's 2:30 a.m. in India. That's coincidentally also the time you need to go to the dentist. I'm here every week. A few more minutes and then we'll get started with our lesson today. Wow, that is really sour. Today every day I have some different drink. It's just something with caffeine. This is a strawberry, wild strawberry. It's like really sour, actually. It's like lemon juice with strawberry flavor in it, kind of, and sugar. It's really strong. Someone said, hello from Kurdistan. Hello from Dominican Republic. Nice. Hello from Mexico. Mexico. My grandmother, believe it or not, I know I don't look it. My grandmother's from Mexico. Isn't that strange? Your favorite Korean teacher is part Hispanic. Actually, technically half, but anyway. Hello from Brazil. Nice. Let's see. Just a few more minutes, then we'll start. I see a bunch more people coming in. Greetings from Argentina, Norway, England. Nice. Fantasy World said, do adjectives have conjugation at all? Then no. Adjective by definition is something that modifies a noun directly. In Korean, no. In Korean, they're descriptive verbs that conjugate into adjectives. And that they are conjugated. So the adjective itself would not further conjugate. Now that conjugation could change, but it's not the adjective conjugating. It's the original descriptive verb just conjugating a different way. I know that sounds confusing. Just learn. It might sound confusing. Just go and learn about how to conjugate descriptive verbs and it'll make sense. Someone said, my phone is about to die, so I'm about to watch this on my TV. Nice. That is the true way to watch this lesson is on the football stadium TV with the Jumbotron or rent a movie theater, and put this YouTube stream on a movie theater stream. That's the true way to watch these live streams. Hello from Germany. Nice. Guten Tag. Let's see. Another one, someone else from the Netherlands. 네덜란드에서 인사해요. You say in Netherlands에서 welcome from Netherlands. Okay. Someone said hello from Bay Area. Nice. My sister's living around up there. I think she's still there unless she moved. I know she's going to be moving down to Southern California. But anyway. Hello from you. Are you serious? Goblin? Are you serious? That would be cool. South Africa. Hello. South America. Someone came as far all the way from Pangtan Academy. Welcome. I know that's a Discord server. Minnesota, Quebec. Salut. Hello from Vancouver. Nice. I went there once. How was it when I went there? It was kind of hot. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything that I did there. Okay. All right. Welcome. Okay. That's enough introductions. Everyone waiting for the class to start. Okay. Now we are ready to start. So today we're going to be learning about 3 very common and necessary verb stems. So we're going to be learning 3 verb stems that are very useful. And again, for this class, you want to make sure you know how to conjugate verbs already in all tenses, just because the sentences we're going to be using require knowing those conjugations to understand them. The first form we're going to be learning is Codin. And the way you make it is you just take a verb stem. Now this can be any verb. And you attach Codin, or if you want to be polite, Codin yo. That's all there is to it. Are there any exceptions when you conjugate this? No, there are no exceptions to this. I kind of feel like I need to stall, because normally I would give you a bunch of exceptions, but none of the forms we're doing today have anything like that. You can just learn it as is. Codin. You're done. Okay, so what is this? When is this used? Well, this form is specifically used when you're explaining something. Wow, that can be explaining the reason for something or just explaining some fact. What things do we say in English when we're going to explain something to someone else? Just what would you say? You don't have to know this lesson. You don't have to know the answer to this. I'm just curious, what would you say in English if you want to express to someone like, I'm going to explain something to you. So I'm going to explain the reason to you, or I'm going to explain a fact to you. What would you say in English? You might, because if you get this, you already know this form. You already know how to use this form and how not to use it. You know when you should use it. This is what it is. Did you know that? Okay, good. Because, good. You know, yeah. You're all right. All of you are correct. Well, actually, yes. You should know that. Yes. Excellent. You already have more than I came up with when I was writing the lesson. The reason is, yes, you know, yes. Saying something the other person know, yeah, okay. So, actually, I was going to say because, okay, that works, yeah, because. This is something because. Start by saying well, yeah, as you know, for your information, yeah, that all of these work. So this form is just like starting a sentence by saying, I'm going to explain something to you. Or it's because, if you're giving the reason. So it's just for explaining something. And it shows, so let me say this again. So by using this form, it shows that you think the other person doesn't know what you're going to say, right? Because if you're explaining something like, hey, you know, like I'm thinking, maybe they don't know it. So I'm going to explain it to them. Why would you explain something if they already know it, right? You're not going to say, just so you know, if you know that they know, right? I know that you know, but you wouldn't say that. You would say it because you think that they might not know. So it's like, hey, I'm going to tell you something, right? You wouldn't express that unless you thought they might not know. So again, it's only used when you think that the listener, whoever's listening to you, they might not know what you're going to say. So if you were to say this, those things that I asked you, if you were to say like, let's see, for your information, and then say something that they actually know, How would that sound? Because it's the same in Korean. If you start a sentence by saying, hey, so you know, and then you say something that they obviously know, like, hey, just for your information, I'm not a native Korean speaker. Like, it might sound a bit condescending, right? It depends how you use it. It could sound anywhere from mean to like you're trying to talk down to them or straight up rude. It doesn't necessarily have to be very rude, though. It could be like, hey, just so you know, I actually have a meeting tomorrow, so I can't meet you. That's okay, right? You can say it like that. But depending on the context, I'll say this again. Depending on the context, what you're saying and the way you say it, it could be interpreted as either simply informative, like, hey, just so you know, or straight up rude. Yeah, for your information, hey, right? So think about that. So just like in English, this can come across as informative, like, hey, I'm just letting you know, I think you might not know, but I don't mean you, maybe you do, I'm sorry, but you might not know, right? You can say it in a nice tone, or you can say, hey, you know, come on, you know this, right? And you can do the same thing in Korean. We're going to talk about how you can do that. The way you do that is by changing the intonation, and I'll explain that in a second. So when you use this, it feels like you want the listener to pay, let me say this again. So when you're using this, it feels like you want the listener to pay close attention to what you're going to say. It's like, hey, listen to me for a second. I'm going to explain something. I'm going to explain the reason, or I'm going to explain just a fact, right? So it conveys that you really want them to listen to you. In English, there are many ways we could do this. And you gave me some good examples in chat. I read all your chat comments for that. You could say, you know, oh, hey, you know, or well, or this is because, or I was going to say, you know, there's a bunch of things you can say. A couple that you can write down. Here are some ways that you can translate this form for your information. Or, so you know, just so you know, right? There are other ways you could translate this as well, but these kind of capture the feeling. So would you say, just so you know, if you know that they know? No, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say for your information if you think that they know. You could use it, though, mockingly, like you're talking down to someone. Or you could simply use it informatively, like you're informing them something. Like, hey, just so you know, I actually heard this and this, so therefore, you know, it doesn't sound rude if you say it like that. But if you say, just so you know, for your information, you know, it can sound rude. So it has the same usage in English. And this is a great form because the feeling of this form translates very, very well into English and how we use it. It's not something that you have to think about like a new concept to grasp. We do this in English anyway. So, oh, I got a donation. I was just about to say when it's used. another place that it's used. How much is it? Where is it? Who's it from? Jackie! Our first supporter for today. Thank you, Jackie. $5. Nice. I'm going to give you 5 dabs for your donation. Thank you. Someone saying, can you give us an example sentence? Yeah, we'll give examples always. Don't worry. Thank you, Jackie. Really appreciate it. Yeah, just so you know, I have this donation goal. I've had it up for a few weeks now. It's actually an obsolete goal, I admit, because I already bought the item that I was raising. It's this light that's on right now. And I actually already ordered a second. So it's like, but it's still a really, really important goal, right? Okay. So then which part was I going to go on to? Oh yeah. Keep in mind though, this is only used in statements. Now, what is a statement? A statement is just something that you say. It's not a question, it's not a command, and it's not a suggestion. So you're not saying, is it? You're not telling someone to do something, like do it, and you're not giving a suggestion. Why can't I talk? And you're not giving a suggestion, right? You're not saying, shall we? I got another donation. But you get that, right? It's only used in statements, just like in English. You wouldn't say, just so you know, go to the store. No, you could say, just so you know, you have to go to the store. That's a statement. But not, just so you know, is it a good idea? That doesn't make sense, right? It's for informing someone. What? Is that real? What? What? Jackie! I was like, that's a very specific amount until I looked at the the donation. Jackie. Okay, Jackie, you are our official producer for today, as well as, oh, and I saw Samantha as well. Samantha, thank you. I don't want your Samanthas to get overshadowed either. Thank you, Samantha, both of you. Hold on. I gotta do some dabs. First 5 for Samantha. And then Jackie, okay. All right, hold on. Gotta get some dabs. Okay, 107 dabs for Jackie. I'm gonna do these fast, okay? I'm gonna do these really fast. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 50, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 60, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9, 100, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Someone said I'm dying. You're dying. I never thought dabbing would be a legitimate exercise. I'm good. Okay, thank you very much. Back to the lesson. So, because this is only used when you're explaining new information, it's only going to be used in statements. So not questions. You're not going to say, for your information, is it? Right? You're not going to do, and for the same reason, you're not going to use it in commands or suggestions. So telling someone to do something or suggesting, shall we do something? Okay. And oh man, okay, now I feel like dizzy. This form is only used at the end of a sentence. So, Codin, period, or Codin, period. If you see this form used in the middle of a sentence, it has a different meaning, which we will briefly talk about at the end of this lesson. Let's see, what else? Okay. Now let's talk about how you can change the tone of this form. That was the most dabs I've ever done at once. Okay, let's do, actually, yeah, let's do it like that. Okay. I'm just going to take a second to write this down, and I'll explain. Jackie said, so sorry. Let us make up a confetti drop instead for next time. That's probably a good idea. Except that I have carpeting down here. That I don't know if that's a great idea. Maybe large pieces of confetti could work. Maybe I should invest in like a confetti ball that I pull a string and it just drops confetti. That might be a good idea. I'll think about it. Depending how my arms feel after this lesson. Well, I'll think about that. Okay. No, really, I really appreciate it. That's awesome. We've just hit the goal. So let me just clear this out. We hit the entire goal for my light. Like I said, originally I wanted to upgrade my lighting, and I did. And that's this live stream actually looks a lot better if you compare it with a few weeks ago. Actually, a couple months ago, it looks a lot better. And that's because of that. Thank you. Bubble machine could work. I have a bubble machine actually already. My kid, like a little cheap bubble machine we have for my kid. That could work. Okay. This form, you can change the feeling of this form by changing the intonation. And the way it works is if you give a rising intonation to this ending, then it can sound like you're talking down to someone. So, Codin요, Codin, this will be the last syllable. So if you're using Codin, it'll be Codin. And if you're using Codin요, it'll be Codinyo. So if you give a rising intonation to the last syllable, it sounds like you're talking down. Codinyo, Codin, it sounds like you're talking down. Rising, talking down. I know it's opposite. Or if you add a falling intonation to this form, Codin, Codinyo, it sounds informative. So this is like saying, hey, just so you know, for your information, like that. Doesn't sound like you're condescending. You're being condescending. It just sounds like you're giving information to them. Now, it could still be interpreted as you're being condescending toward them if you're telling them something they obviously know, right? If you're saying like, hey, it's the meeting's next week, but like they already knew that and you knew that, then it can be condescending. But outside of a specific context, this one doesn't sound like you're being condescending toward them. It doesn't sound like you're talking down to them. So it's the opposite of what you think. A rising intonation sounds like you're talking down to them, and a falling intonation sounds like you're just conveying information. So keep that in mind. Rising intonation of the final syllable, Codin if you're just using tin, or Codinyo if you're using Codinyo. This sounds like you're talking down to them, and a falling intonation of the entire form, Codin or Codinyo, sounds more informative. That's all you have to know about this form. So let's do a couple example sentences. You know what? I'm going to give you one sentence, then I want you to make the next sentence. First one I'm going to give you. Actually, I have to write this down here. Oh, quiet. Okay. In this sentence, Codinyo is actually for ida, to be. So I Codinyo, but after a vowel, the E can be removed. So it's just 딸기 Codinyo. But you can imagine that there would be E from ida in here. 제가 가장 좋아하는 과일이 딸기거든요. I 가장 좋아하다, to like the most. This is how we say favorite. So my favorite, 제가 가장 좋아하는. You can actually memorize this section here. 제가 or 내가 가장 좋아하는 as the phrase meaning favorite. So my favorite, something. In this case, 과일, fruit. 딸기. My favorite fruit is strawberry. Hey, just so you know, my favorite fruit is strawberry. Right? Maybe someone says, what flavor should I make your birthday cake? 제가 가장 좋아하는 과일이 딸기거든요. 제가 가장 좋아하는 과일이 딸기거든요. So you're having a falling intonation. What if you're like chewing strawberries and you have like a strawberry patterned shirt and you're like in a strawberry themed house and your friend's like, what's your favorite fruit? And you're like, 딸기거든요. 딸기거든요. 딸기거든? Hey, it's strawberry, you know? For your information, it's strawberry. Then that would be like, hey, come on, you know. It's strawberry. So this probably wouldn't be though in this example. 제가 가장 좋아하는 과일이 딸기거든요. So my favorite fruit is strawberry. Okay, the next sentence, I want you to make it. I am also learning Korean. So for your information, or just so you know, I'm also learning Korean. How would you say that? FYI, I'm also learning Korean. As in, me too, not I'm learning Korean and doing other things, but I also, in addition to other people, I'm also learning Korean. How would you say that? Zomi, do you have BT? I don't, actually. My little brother told me to get it, but I don't really know why I would need it. So I didn't get it. HS Yang, yes. 됐거든요? Yep. It's like, hey, just so you know, I'm not interested. Like that. Yeah. And someone also said past tense. Yeah, the form I gave you, the verb stem. As I said, there are no restrictions. You can use it with any verb stem. So that includes descriptive verbs, action verbs, as well as any tense, as long as it's a verb stem. There are I almost tried to say future and past, and it came out as fat tense. There's past tense you can use it with as well. Or even, I guess you could use it as future tense, but that might sound a little bit awkward. Depending on the context. But anyway, yeah, past tense works too. So 하다 would be 했어요. So 했거든요. 제가 안 했거든요. Like, hey, I didn't do it. Nice, nice. I'm reading what everyone wrote right now. Starting with Cam C. Suli. I can't read your name. You're the first person who attempted it. Nice. Alicia, you wrote, I'm studying Korean also. That works. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I see a couple typos, but I'm not going to dock any points for typos. I'm looking for the overall form. 저도 한국어를 비율이 방송으로 공부. Let's see. 즐겨 하기 힘들거든요. 그래서 하지 마세요. It's okay. Oh, I meant fat tense with a P, right? Yeah. Nice, nice. Okay, let me give you one of the answers you could have. But I saw a lot of really good sentences. So compare what you have with mine. And yours is probably correct too. Just know if it's different, then think about why it's different. But this is not the only way you could say this. So for me too, also me, 저도, I too, I also. 한국어를 배우고 있거든요. So this is not like, so if someone's like, hey, have you ever heard of kimchi before? Do you know kimchi? 저도 한국어를 배우고 있거든요. Like, hey, I'm also learning Korean. So it has that tone of like, hey, you know, like, come on. For your information, I'm learning Korean. Or someone's like, hey, I heard lots of people are learning Korean these days. 저도 한국어를 배우고 있거든요. Like, hey, yeah, just so you know, I'm learning Korean too. And it doesn't sound like you're talking down to them that way. 저도, so me too, 한국어, Korean, 한국어를 배우고 있거든요. 배우다, to learn. So I am also learning Korean. So I'm also learning Korean, you know. 저도 한국어를 배우고 있거든요. Okay. That is all you need to know about this form. Pretty simple, I think. The next form we're going to be doing is also simple to conjugate. You take a verb stem and you attach 잖아, or if you're speaking politely, tanayo. So 하다 would become 하잖아요. That's it. There are no exceptions. That's all you have to learn. Isn't that easy? Originally, this Tanayo is a shortened version of 지 않아요. So this 지 combined with 지 안, so you get 잔, like that. 지 않아요 became 잖아요. But the usage is different. Just letting you know where it came from originally. 지 않아요, though, would typically be used to say it's not, or isn't it? Like, is it not? Or isn't? Like, it's not. So, 좋아하지 않아요. I don't like it. 좋아하지 않아요? Don't you like it? Like that. Normally, it's used for that. This one, though, is used in a slightly different way. The function of this is similar to the 지 or 조 endings. And I covered these in the last live stream that we did 2 weeks ago. So what is this used for? What is 지 or 조 used for? Can someone tell me in the chat? I'll give you like 10 seconds and I'm just going to tell you. Let me check the chat while I'm doing that. Yes, I did 107 dabs. Yes. 잔습니다 would be 지 않습니다 shortened. That's not this form. But yeah, someone asked about that. Thanks, Alexia. Yeah, when you want Canadian A. Nice, you remember that. Yes. So this is used when you want confirmation to something. Like, hey, come on, like, don't you think so? But this one is stronger than this. So it's a stronger way of saying like, hey, isn't it? 지 않아요? Isn't it? It is. So it's a stronger way to insist that what you're saying is correct. And because it's stronger, this form is not used when you're speaking extra politely. This form has a colloquial feel. That means it sounds like it belongs in speech, not in writing. You're not going to ever use this in an essay. You're not going to use this to your when meeting your brand new boss. It's not going to be used in any sort of formal situation. Even formal situations where you might not speak only formally, this kind of has a bit of a casual, not casual speech, but colloquial. So like a spoken tone. So it emphasizes what you're saying is correct. Like, hey, I know I'm correct. So if you want to say something in English and you want to emphasize that what you're saying is correct, what would you say? What kinds of things would you say in English to say, I'm correct? What would you say? I want to see what you say. Before I tell you a few answers you can translate it as, there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually wrote down 6 ways you can translate it. I'll give you some ways in a second. I just want to see what you can say. Someone said, you know, right? Okay. I'm telling you. Yes? Floppy Ann just wrote, I am right. How do you tell someone, how do you express that you think you're correct? I am right. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. You are right. Reminding you that. Yeah, sure. Kind of. Yeah. As long as you're meaning it not to say literally, like I'm reminding you, but like, hey, you know, in that sense, then yes. Trust me. Okay. Because I know. Am I right? Like a little philosophical there. Am I right? What is right? Documentation backing up why I'm right. Really, truly, isn't it? As you know, isn't that so? It's not quite as you know, because that's what we did for the last form. Like that's when you are explaining something to someone else. Kind of like you think that they might not know already. This is more like just emphasizing that, hey, I'm correct. So how can you say that? There are a few things we do in English when we want to emphasize that what we're saying is correct. We can start the sentence by saying, look, Like, look. See? I told you. See? Maybe, as you know. Because it wouldn't be you think that they don't know. But in this case, it would be you think they do know. So I think you know. So as you know, maybe don't forget. Now, there's not really a right answer to this. There are a lot of ways you can translate that. It's simply the feeling that you feel like you're correct. Like, hey, I'm right. So I'm telling you something, okay? Hey, even, hey, come on. Look, I told you. I told you. It can be anything. This is a bit tricky to translate one way. You can translate it any way you want, as long as you understand the purpose of it is to emphasize that you think what you're saying is correct. So like, I'm right. Look, so your friend gives you some kimchi and says it's not spicy at all. And you try it. You're like, it's spicy. And they're like, it's not spicy. And you're like, I am right. It is spicy. Look, it's spicy. See, it's spicy. As you know this is spicy. Come on. Hey, this is spicy. I told you it's spicy. Anything like that. I'm emphasizing that I'm correct. That's what this form is used for. Now, if you notice what I was saying, in a few of those, in that situation, I was actually like angry at the person for giving me spicy kimchi, right? It could be used, and it is commonly used when the speaker is upset at the listener in some way. Like, hey, come on. Like, hey, I told you. As you know, see, look. It's often used when you're upset. It doesn't have to be, though. It does not. It can simply be used when you want to emphasize, like, I know I'm correct, so here. But it tends to get used often when the speaker is upset at something, usually upset at the listener. So if you want to use this form and you're worried that you might sound upset, now, like I said, it doesn't always by default mean you're upset. You can use this in regular polite situations, not extra polite, but regular polite situations, you can use this, Tanayo. If you want to be really careful to not sound upset, there's a different expression that you should use. And you have two options. I'm going to write them here. 알다시피 or 아시다시피. This comes from the verb 알다, meaning to know, and 아시다, the honorific verb to know. And it means as you know. So this is the honorific version, as you know. 알다시피, 아시다시피. These do not sound like you are being upset. They sound very straightforward. They can even sound formal. As you know, as you are aware. 알다시피 and 아시다시피. So just write those down if you want to make sure that if you want to use these, if you want to express like, hey, I'm correct, okay, as you know, like, yeah, but you don't want to sound upset and you don't want to risk sounding upset because you're not really comfortable with conveying it. You're not really comfortable yet with conveying it with the right intonation, the right tone to not sound to upset yet. Then just memorize these phrases and you'll be okay. And one more thing about this form Tanayo is that it's only used at the end of a sentence. So anytime you see this form, you can consider the sentence is actually over. So it's not used in the middle of a sentence. Okay, so let's do an example. Again, I want to give you two sentences, and then I want you to make the third one. So the first one I'm going to give you, the first sentence I'm going to give you is actually a common expression. You can memorize this separately. 있잖아요. This comes from 있다, to exist. 있잖아요. So it means, hey, look, I've got something. There is something. 있다, to exist. Something exists. You know, something exists. Hey, something exists. This is a common expression, or 있잖아, with close friends. That means hey, listen, I've got something to tell you. You can memorize this separately. So this is when you're starting a conversation with a friend. 있잖아요 or 있잖아. With your close friends who are younger than you or the same age, you can use 있잖아. And for any other friend, 있잖아요. So for starting a conversation, like saying, hey, you know, hey, come here for a sec. Hey, that sort of expression. 있잖아요. Okay, let's do an example sentence with this form. 거라고 했잖아요. Okay. 밤에 비가 올 거라고 했잖아요. 밤에, at night, at nighttime. 비가 오다 means to rain. So 비가 올 거라고. So this is a quoting form. Someone said it will rain at night. 했잖아요. Said. 하다. To say. So 했다. 했어요. So you said, hey, look, you said it's going to rain at night. But it didn't rain. Or you said you want to hang out at nighttime, but didn't you say it's going to rain? How could we hang out outside if it's raining? So, you know, don't forget, you said, or someone said, it's going to rain tonight. 밤에 비가 올 거라고 했잖아요. So someone said, we don't know who. Someone said, maybe you. Someone said it's going to rain tonight. Don't forget, or hey, I told you, someone said it's going to rain tonight. Maybe you go outside and maybe you told your friend in the morning, hey, it's going to rain tonight. And your friend's like, oh, it's not, it's fine. Let's just go to the theme park. And you go to the theme park and when it's nighttime, it starts raining. You could tell your friend, 밤에 비가 올 거라고 했잖아요. Look, I told you it's going to rain at night. Now, we don't know the context for this sentence, so we don't know who's saying it. Could be you said it, could be I said it, someone else said it. It's just a quoting form. But basically, if you just look at this part of the sentence, 했잖아요. I told you, or someone said, right? Look, someone said it's going to rain tonight. Okay. 밤에 비가 올 거라고 했잖아요. So you said it would rain at night, or I said it would rain at night. Someone said it would rain at night. Okay, so now I want you to do this next sentence. I want you to translate, it's the weekend tomorrow. Like, hey, don't forget, as you know, I told you, it's the weekend tomorrow. So I'm just going to write the sentence in English. And I'm going to give you one word. Weekend is 주말. 주말 means weekend. Literally, 주 week, 말 ending. So weekend, literally. So it's the weekend tomorrow. Hey, it's the weekend tomorrow. Or remember, don't forget, I told you, something like that. As you know, right? As you know, it's the weekend tomorrow. So how would you say this? Nice. 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 I'm just reading them. I'm not going to read them out loud. I'm just looking at them. See what you can write. Everyone's doing great. I think the majority watching understand the forms pretty well. That one Ewok that died. Sure. Because you're trying to emphasize that what you're saying is correct. It can also be used when you want to remind someone of a fact. Like, he's a kid. He's a child. He's still a child. And I'm right. Like, look, come on. You know this. I know this. That sort of meaning. Sure. Ivana, you wouldn't use 에는. Because you're not saying on tomorrow. You're simply saying tomorrow. Other than that, good job. And Luna, you wouldn't use the object marker with tomorrow because there's no action verb doing anything to tomorrow. Okay, nice, nice. I still see the sentences coming in. Let's go. Stop it in 5 seconds, and I'm going to give you the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Okay. Most of you actually got the exact answer. Let's do you to be polite. Although with your close friends who are the same age as you or younger, you don't need the you at the end. 내일은 주말이잖아요. 내일, tomorrow. 주말, weekend. 내일은 주말이잖아요. Look, tomorrow's the weekend. I told you, or just so you know. Not just so you know. As you know, tomorrow's the weekend. Or, don't forget, tomorrow's the weekend. Like that. Okay, that's all you need to know about this form. And I think if you forget how it's used, if you can't remember how it's used or, it's used for emphasizing what you're saying is correct. If you can't remember that, just at least remember that it can mean like see or look or as you know, some sort of meaning like that. You're like, hey, you're emphasizing that what you're saying is correct. So if you remember that, at least how to translate it, you'll still be able to use it. And it has that same feeling. Okay. We are right on time again. Nice. I love being on time. Okay. And the third form we're going to be learning today is the form 고. And the way you make it is you take a verb stem and you attach 고. And then if it's at the end of a sentence, you can attach 고 or 고요 if you want to be polite. Now, this one can be used in the middle of a sentence or at the end of a sentence. And you might already know how it's used in the middle of a sentence. When you're using this normally in the middle of a sentence, it has the meaning of and. And we'll talk about this in a little bit. But here it has a slightly different usage when it's used at the end of a sentence. When it's used with a descriptive verb in the middle of a sentence, so when you're connecting two sentences together, it means and when you're connecting descriptive verbs. So something is big and expensive. 크고 비싸요. So big and expensive. When it's used with action verbs, however, you can translate it as and or as and then. So with an action verb, for example, 먹고 가다. Eat and go. So you're eating and then you go. It's used to show that one action happens after another. Therefore, I eat and then I go. So you can translate it as and or and then with action verbs, or just as and with descriptive verbs. This is just a small detail, just for using it in the middle of a sentence. But when we use it at the end of a sentence, it has a slightly different usage. So if we have a sentence that ends with 고, what does that mean? Something, something, and? Something, something, and then? No. Literally, yes. Now, let's take a look at what this form does, and then we'll talk about how it works at the end of a sentence. What this form does, it shows that you're not yet finished speaking. Right? Whenever you say something and, you're emphasizing, you're implying that you have more to say. So this, and this, and you're not finished, right? So it shows you haven't finished speaking and you haven't even finished a part of your sentence yet. You're still going on. Now, when used at the end of a sentence or at the end of a part of a sentence, when it's used at the end of something that you're saying, this form not only shows that it's an unfinished sentence, but it also kind of softens what you're saying. So you might hear sentences that end with 고 or 고요, and then they're not followed by another sentence right away. Or maybe they're followed by another sentence after a few seconds. 네, 저는 20살이고요. 대학생이에요. So it's not connected as part of the same sentence. It kind of sounds like there's a break. And you might think, so it means and in that situation, but you might think when you're hearing this that they're not finished talking. Yes. So when you use this at the end of a sentence, which you can, it conveys two things. One, that you're not finished. The other one is it makes your sentence sound, because you're not finished, it sounds like it's a little bit softer. Like, hey, I still have more to say, but I'm going to stop here. That sort of feeling. I'll show you some examples of that. Now, that's pretty much all there is to using this form as far as just the basic form is concerned. So when you hear this used in a sentence, at the end of a section of a sentence, it has a soft feeling. It does not change the meaning of the sentence. It simply makes it sound more soft. Like, hey, I still have more to say, but I'm just going to stop here for right now. That kind of feeling. When you use this, okay, so that's all you need to know about this part. There's one more thing you need to know about this form, and that is conjugation. So I said all you have to do is take a verb stem and attach cool. Well, yes, that's all you have to do. And most of the time, that's all you should do, is take a regular verb stem and attach cool. Now, let me show you an example. If you have hada, that will become hago, right? Because ha is the verb stem of hada. But what about the past tense? The past tense verb stem of hada is this, right? Heku. So according to our conjugation rules, this works. And yes, you might see past tense conjugation used with this form, but I want to say you probably don't need it. The only time you need to use the past tense conjugation, regardless of the tense that you're using in your sentence, so regardless of what tense it ends with, is when you need to emphasize that something was already finished in the past. Not just I did something and then I did something, but I did something and that's done with, and then after that, then I did this. So only when you need to emphasize or want to emphasize that some action was already done in the past. If your sentence ends with the past tense, for example, something something hago, something something 했어요, right? Just pretend these are two verbs. Something hago, something 했어요. This already has the meaning of I did something and then I did something. You do not need to use the past tense conjugation when it's used in the middle of a sentence, unless you need to emphasize, well, I finished something, I completely did it, and then I did this. Unless you need to emphasize that this was also completely finished in the past tense. If you don't need to, this already conveys the basic meaning of I did something and then I did something else, and these are both in the past tense. So if you need to emphasize stronger that this was the past tense for this action, then you can use it, and you'll see it sometimes, but it's not necessary. So I just want to say that because I see a lot of people misuse this form, that they think they need to conjugate it in the past tense like other forms, which do conjugate in the past tense in the middle of a sentence like that. But this one does not. Another one that doesn't is the sol form. In fact, this one really should not. So if you have hada, it would become heisol, not hessosol or anything like that. Regardless of the tense of the sentence, future tense, past tense, whatever. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah. This also applies to the future tense. So you don't need to say, for example, you could do 할 거예요. You don't need to 할 거고. Like, yeah, you might see it. Like, I will do something. 할 거고 something something 할 거예요. No, just use 하고 할 거예요. Like, I will do something and then I'll do something. Good. 할 거고, like I'll do something and then after I've done that, then I'm going to do this. You don't need it. So I'll just say that. You don't need any other tense except the plain, regular verb stem in present tense, regardless of the tense used at the end of your sentence. So if you want to convey, I did something and then I did something, just do just do cool regularly and add the tense to the end of your sentence regularly. I think that's all you need to know about how to conjugate it. Okay, there's one more detail I need to cover about this form. I think some of that caffeine drink went down my throat weird. Okay. You also might see this form. Instead of cool, you might also see ku, yo, used in the same way. So instead of hago, you might see hagu or haguyo. Most of the time, this is something that you will see in speech. You might also see it in writing sometimes. This has the exact same meaning as ko yo, but is only a colloquial version. So it's only used in speech. This should never be used on an essay. This should never be used in a business email with anyone. It's 100%, it sounds spoken. It sounds informal, but very common. Now, there's nothing else you need to know about this. There's no other difference in usage. It has the exact same usage, just pronounced as ku. And it has a slightly cuter sound. So it sounds less, what's the word? Stiff. It sounds less stiff, like you're just keeping grammar rules. It sounds more like friendly, and it sounds a little cuter. So should you use this? If you're young, I think it will probably sound okay if you use it sometimes. If everything you say has ku instead of ko, it's going to sound a little awkward. It'll sound a bit childish. So just keep in mind how it will make your Korean sound and what it sounds like when you hear it. The overall usage is the exact same though. There's no difference in how it's used or anything else. Just how it's written and how it's pronounced. Okay, so let's do an example sentence, and then I want you to give me an example sentence. Again, this one's a little bit trickier because it's used both in the beginning and the end of a sentence, but I have two examples where it's used in the middle of a sentence and one example where it's used at the end of a sentence. First, let me give you the example where it's used at the end of a sentence. So let's say you're introducing yourself and you say you like Harry Potter and you want to add something. You're like, oh, and I also did see all the movies. You want to say it like that, not, and I also saw all the Harry Potter movies, but you want to say, oh, and I also did see all the Harry Potter movies. So you want to add a little bit of information. You want it to sound kind of soft. Harry Potter 영화는, so the Harry Potter movies, 다, completely, all of them, 보다, to see, 봤고요. So this is the end of a sentence, which is why it's okay to use this in the past tense. This is the end of the sentence. So in this case, you do need to emphasize that it's in the past tense. I saw them all. And this is the end. There's nothing after that. So after you give your introduction and you say you really like Harry Potter, then you can also add Harry Potter 영화는 다 봤고요. And, you know, I also saw all the Harry Potter movies. Like that. It sounds like you're not done talking. You might say they were really fun or my favorite one was this. But no, you're just stopping. It kind of makes your sentence sound a little bit softer. You could keep going. You could say something else. I saw them all but it doesn't have to be. It's over. So you'll commonly hear this 고요 ending in speeches, like not formal speeches, but, you know, friendly kind of informal speeches. You'll see it when you're introducing something. You'll hear someone introducing something and it'll say this like this. I remember sticking these all over the place when I was giving my wedding speech. You can actually find it on YouTube. It's I did the video with Hyunwoo and we watched my wedding speech I gave in Korean. I was so nervous I put this in every single sentence because I was like, I wanted to sound really soft and friendly. So every sentence has this. You don't need to do that though. Okay. Harry Potter 영화는 다 봤고요. So yeah, you know, and I also saw all the Harry Potter movies. Kind of like that. And it sounds soft. Versus 다 봤어요. Hey, I saw all the Harry Potter movies. It just sounds very stiff. It sounds very straightforward. 봤어요. I saw all the Harry Potter movies. Say 봤고요. Like, oh, and I might say more, but yeah, hey, just by the way, I also saw all the Harry Potter movies. So you're hinting at, I have more to say, but I'm going to stop there. That's what it means. And it's difficult to convey this in English because although we have a similar feeling when we're talking in English that sounds like we're not done talking, we don't do it with any extra words. So you might say something, I saw all the Harry Potter movies. 다 봤어요. I saw all the Harry Potter movies. Or you might say, Oh, and I saw all the Harry Potter movies. Like, one of them sounds like maybe we're adding something, and the other one just sounds like a straightforward sentence, right? It's a slight difference in tone. Do you want to sound like you still have more to talk about, or do you want to sound like that's all you're going to say? So kind of think about that. And this will take a lot of exposure to get the feel for what it feels like. 빌리 영상은, you want to say 은, 다 봤고요. Okay. Someone said, I thought the movies are the object. Okay, I think you're talking about something else. All right, so let me give you one more sentence, and then I want you to write the last one. 여기에 이름을 적고 들어가세요. 여기에. So here, 여기에. 이름, your name. 적다 is to write down. Versus 쓰다 is simply to write, the act of writing. 적다 is to write something down, like filling in a form, writing something down. 적고 들어가다 is to enter, to go in. 여기에 이름을 적고 들어가세요. So please write your name here. And then go in. So by that it means 적고, write your name, and then after you've written your name, and then go inside. So go inside after you've written your name down. So first write your name down here and then go inside. 여기에 이름을 적고 들어가세요. So this is just the regular use in the middle of a sentence, right? It's not being used to soften the sentence here. It's simply being used to mean and then with an action verb, 적다, to write down. 여기에 이름을 적고 들어가세요. So please write down your name here first and then go in. So this would be like a check-in book, like a guest log before you visit something. You write your name down and then you go inside. Okay, this last sentence I want you to write. Now, this is not at the end of a sentence. This is being used in the middle of a sentence. I want you to write, I'm 20 years old and I'm a college student. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. I'm 20 and I'm a college student. Or I'm 20 years old and a college student. I'll put that in parentheses because you don't need to repeat it. Okay. I want you to write this. Let's see, who's going to do it first? Oh, this is so sour. This is the sourest strawberries I've ever had. Nice, Daniela. Perfect, Daniela. Although, there's a typo. But if you had just written the numbers, though, it would have been perfect. But because you went ahead and wrote the hangul, 20 is not sumur. Sumur would be just the number 20. But so I wrote that really weird. But if you're using 20 as a counter, just how the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 change, the number 20 also changes. Sumu. Sumusar, not sumursar. It's a common mistake. I used to say that all the time when I was learning Korean. I would say sumursar, but it's sumushar. Sumu. For 20. Again, the number 20 is not sumu, but when it's used as a counter before something, it becomes that. Just the same as hana becomes han, tur becomes tu, set becomes se, and net becomes ne. See who else wrote something. Nice, nice. I see a couple people have that typo. A few people have it correctly. See a couple people with sumushar. Nice, nice. Or you just write the number and you don't have to worry about it at all. That's one thing. That's one way you can do it as well. 입니다. Nice. Ocean Discovery. Very polite. Very good. Nice, nice. Okay, I'm going to wait 10 more seconds and I'm going to write the answer. Okay. Notice that we're not doing 저는 twice because that's not necessary. Once you've established the topic as 저, you don't need to establish it again unless you're changing it. 저는 20살이고 대학생이에요. So I am 20 years old and 대학생, a college student. 대학생이에요. Now, you could also make a sentence that was just like this. 저는 20살이고요. 대학생이에요. That works too. You could also just have 그리고 저는 20살이고요. You could also just have this. Oh, and by the way, I'm also, you see, I'm 20. It sounds like there's something else to maybe will come after, but in Korean, it adds a softer feeling to the sentence. So you could also end it like this. You could have it like this. 이고요, and then have a pause, and then have 대학생이에요. Or have it as one sentence. 저는 20살이고 대학생이에요. It's the same form. 고, and. So just keep that in mind. You might see it by itself. You might just see it as 고 in the middle of a sentence as usual. You might see it at the end of a sentence with 고요 or maybe not. And then there's a pause. And then they finish the sentence. That's okay too. Or you might see it with the 요 and then finishes with the 요. I will say something. If you're going to use this and have a pause, attach 요 if you want to be polite. If I were to say 저는 20살이고 그리고 대학생이에요. It kind of sounds like I'm actually using casual speech, or at least I'm misusing the politeness levels, because it sounds like I just finished my sentence without adding 요. And if you don't add 요, then that's technically casual speech. 내가 20살이고 대학생이야. You could say that. I am a 20-year-old college student in casual speech. So you want to add the 요 to make it clear that, hey, no, I'm not done talking, but just in case you think I might be done talking, let me add a 요. So you'll commonly hear people attach 요 even when it's in the middle of a sentence, even though it doesn't need to be there, just because they want to make sure that the listener knows they're not trying to be casual. So keep that in mind. You might see 요 used even when it's not the end of the sentence. And in that case, they're not just trying to make their sentence sound softer, but they're also like, hey, wait, before you think I'm not being polite, I'm going to attach a 요 here. And then I'll finish the rest of the sentence. 저는 20살이고요. 대학생이에요. 저는 20살이고 대학생이에요. So if you say it as one piece, you don't need the 요, and for no matter what you're doing. But if you want to break it up, I recommend adding a 요 there so it's clear to the listener. Well, if you're trying to be polite, it's clear to the listener that you're not trying to be rude. Okay. So I'm 20 years old and a student. All right, we're not done with the lesson, but that is all of our 3 forms. If you got those, if you kind of understood how they're used, again, 고 as and, Tanayo is like for emphasizing that you think you're correct. So like, look, see, I told you, or as you know. And Codin is used for explaining something like, hey, just so you know, for your information. If you got those, give yourself a pat on the back. These are mid-beginner level forms. So they're not the basic, but they're also not like advanced, but they're good. They're really useful, and you'll see them used all the time. For people who are advanced, so that is all of the beginner lesson for today. But I have a little bit for advanced people. So if you're out there in your advanced level, you do not need this if you're beginner level. You do not need this if you're intermediate level. I rarely see this form. The only time I encounter this form is like in written works and grammar books. I think I need to get rid of this marker. This is a different form. Now, it is the same form originally, but this is not used with 요. So this is an advanced level form, and it is Codin. It is not Codin 요. This is only used in the middle of a sentence. It could be used at the end of a sentence in a fragment, but it is not used at the end of a sentence normally. So what is this form? Has anyone seen this before? Does anyone want to take a guess? Let me write up a sentence first, Actually, do I even have a sentence of this? I don't even think I got a sentence of this because it's supposed to be such a short example. Let's think of an example. Shirkodin kajima. Shirkodin kajima. I guess you could say that. Shirkodin kajima. Kajimaseyo, maybe, because it's still a little bit more written forming. Shirkodin kajimaseyo. Okay. Someone said this was easy. No exceptions or hidden agendas. Yes. Ocean discovery. Yeah. This form, like I said, I didn't even prepare an example sentence for it. I just had to make up one right there. You're not going to see this very often. This form is equivalent to the myeon form. By that, it means if or when. So this is a conditional form. And typically, now there are actually a few ways you can use this. This can actually also be used with questions or statements. Most of the time you see this, it will be followed by a command or a suggestion. So if or when something is, then do something, command, or let's do something, or shall we do something, like that. Command or suggestion. So if something, then do something. Kind of sounds like programmer language. If, then. So this is kind of like if something, then do something. So just write this down as is. You're not going to use this probably ever. I will say at my current Korean level where I'm at, I've never needed this form. I've seen it sometimes though. Sometimes if I'm reading something, I might come across this form. I've definitely seen it in some grammar lessons. I'll find grammar lessons teaching it. Here's what the form means. But as far as like real world situations, it's not that commonly used, but it's good to be aware of. And like I said, very easy to learn. Myeon, but with commands and suggestions. There are some more details to this. If you want, we could do a full lesson about it. If you want, really. It also can be used with questions as well as regular statements. And it has a similar meaning, but a slightly different purpose in that case. But really, this is going to be, if you ever see it, it's going to be used like this. So same as myeon, if, when, followed by a command or a suggestion. So if something, then do something else. Okay. And that is if you are an advanced learner. If you are beginner or intermediate, you don't even need to write this down. You will not see this for a very long time. But don't let me tell you what to do. Okay. So that is our lesson for today. Now I will have a short Q&A as soon as I do a few more announcements. So I'm going to do the announcements again, and then we're going to have a Q&A. Feel free to ask any questions you have. Really quickly, the announcements are, if you are a Patreon member, you can get the worksheet and outline for this live stream on Patreon, as well as every live stream. If you are a member of this channel, of which everyone whose name in green is in the chat, everyone there is a member, you get to watch the abridged version of today's lesson tonight on my YouTube channel. Also, if you are a member, you get to watch the brand new course I am making, Master Politeness Levels. This is one of the episodes I'm editing right now. Master Politeness Levels. You can watch the first episode starting tomorrow, and then every week you'll get a new episode. If you are not a member, you can still watch it starting April 8th, and you'll get to see one a week. So members will get about 4 or 5 episodes ahead. So by the time I upload the first one, members will already have seen episode 4 or 5. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, just a bonus if you're a member. If you're not a member though, you don't have to pay. Everyone will get to watch it for free. Members just get to watch it several weeks early. Like they'll get it 4 or 5 weeks in advance. Also, there is an active Discord channel. There's a link in the description for that, completely free. And if you're interested in another way to support me, I also have some merchandise. I have some new stuff too. You can check that out on the page linked in either in the description or on the chat box. Okay. Any questions you can ask about anything related to this lesson or not related to this lesson? I'll take questions for about 15 minutes and then we will close the live for today. Ocean Discovery said, will there be another icon for YouTube members after Charsu? That's a good question. YouTube only gives me the option to have being a member for first it's like 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and 2 years. I don't know if they have an option for 5 years or 10 years. They should, because I actually have some members who have been with me since the very beginning in 2018. And I would like to have something, maybe like a special Charsu version or something else. It would be cool if I could do something else for that. What's going on? What's going on? Professor Koa? My arms! My poor arms. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Now I have to do 100 more depths. I just did 100 depths. I don't have much time, so I have to do these quickly. Okay. Hold on. I need to become one with the dab. $50. $88. $90. We can do it. We can do this. $100. Whew. Whew. I used to learn some like breathing exercises back when I was doing karate, like before I was learning Korean. I forgot all of them though. Thank you. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. Wow, I didn't think I'd get so many donations, such a large donation today. Thank you both to Jackie and Professor Koa. Whew. Okay. Thanks for translating that comment my colleague made a few months back. Which comment? Which comment was that? I don't even remember. You have to remind me. If you remind me, I'll probably know. Oh. Now it's okay to skip leg dab. Yeah, is it possible to do leg dabs? That's what I wonder. Can you do leg dabs? I'd probably like break my kneecaps or something doing that. Okay. Very inappropriate comments sent in Discord. I don't remember which one, but okay. All right. I'll believe you. Well, I'm guessing maybe someone was swearing at you or something like that. 선생님 죄송합니다. 저는 제 숙제가 없어요. 걔는 제 숙제를 먹었거든요. Okay? Ivana, yes. It makes sense. Although you do want to say typically 강아지 for dog. 개 does mean dog, but it's a stronger word like a dog. You know, like the actual word for dog. Most people, for pets, they refer to their pets not as a 개. Like a wild dog might be 개, or just like the general concept of dog is 개. But for someone's pet, they wouldn't call it a dog typically. They would refer to it as 강아지, meaning puppy. But also can mean dog. So I'd recommend changing it to 강아지. Oh, I'm still out of breath. Gemma Vine, you said these endings aren't used in formal speech. Yes. Are there different endings in formal speech? No. No. The reason is, how can you be formal? How would you be? Okay, I guess I'll put the question back to you. You might be able to answer it yourself. How would you formally express any of these? If you could, in English, if you want to express any of these concepts, for example, take Codin or Tanayo or, well, 고요 can be used in formal speech because 고요 can be used in the middle of a sentence. Though you wouldn't put it at the end of a sentence because then it's 요 form. But let's take Codin and Tanayo. Codin, again, conveys, I'm going to explain something to you, like, just so you know, or for your information. How would you say that formally? How would you say that really fancy and respectfully in English? Would you say, just so you know? No. What would you say? Excuse me, but might I suggest, as you are well aware, sir, you would use a different form. You would say something completely different, right? You wouldn't use these forms. You could use one of the ashidashi-pi as I gave you, or aridashi-pi if it's not honorifics. You probably would use honorifics though, if you're using formal speech anyway for that. Ashidashi-pi, as you already know. Or I need to tell you something. 말씀드릴 것이 있는데요. 있습니다. I guess you'd use for formal speech. You would just say it more formally. You'd say it more politely. Okay. Your dad party never ends. Once you pop, you just don't stop. Might I suggest some Grey Poupon? Jordy asks a question. When it comes to chatting, can you use koyo to imply that you're not done typing? Yes. Exactly. Whew. So if you were to use it in speech or texting, it conveys the same thing. I'm not done. But you could say koyo and not add anything else. And it'll just sound like, hey, yeah, you know, and that. You're just adding some information and it sounds a little bit softer. So it can also be used in chatting. Yeah. Or just cool, depending on how you're, you know, the way you're chatting. You might also see, though, this is not related to the lesson, but there is a, verb ending, cool. That is this cool form that's also used in dialect. You might hear it as in questions as well. It famously... Oh, actually, I can't even write right now. My arms are like... I'm just writing it down here because I don't have space. 이 몇 살이고? So, expression in Busan dialect. How old are you? How old are you? And it has the original same meaning, but it's used more as a sentence ending. So not so much as like I'm trying to keep talking, but like I want it to sound a little bit softer. Hey, so how old are you? Kind of like that. 이 몇 살이고? So this is like an expression a lot of Koreans know anyway. How old are you? In Busan dialect. So you might also hear it used in Busan dialect, in which case understand its dialect usage. You wouldn't say 몇 살이고요 in Seoul dialect. It literally makes sense. You can say it, but it's not a way of typically asking questions unless you want to say like, and how old are you? Like on top of what you're saying. Oh, ocean discovery. As I explained, there is no difference. If anyone does, Avion says, if anyone does another 100 donation, Billy's going to need it. Yeah, it's going to be, maybe Keycat will come in. Keycat will be, Claire, help me back up. Those are the fastest dabs I've ever done, I think. Riot X Van says use chokda. When I used chokda, I did explain the difference. They are not, neither of them is from hanja. Chokda is to write down. To take note of something, and write it down. To write something down. Suda is simply the act of writing. Doesn't matter where you're writing. You could say writing itself is fun. Whatever, anything writing. Suda can also mean to use something. Chokda is simply write something down. Take note of something on paper. Jay's Rada Jacket says, can you use 감사 to say thank you? It's slang, so it's casual speech only. But yes, if you are using casual speech, sure. If you're not using casual speech with that person and you suddenly just say 감사, you know, the two letters, then it's rude. But yeah, it is a slang way to say thank you, and it's just 감사. But it's not like writing THX in English, because that can be used to anyone pretty much. It's not going to be rude. It's not going to be formal, but it's not rude. But 감사 is specifically casual speech. 장난 아니다. 장난 아니다. See, 아니다. If you use 아니다, then yes. You could say also 장난 아니다 for regular Korean. Yeah. 적다 can be jot down. Sure, jot down works. Write down, jot down. Daegu dialect. There is also Daegu dialect. It's, for the most part, it's similar to Busan dialect. There are some specific differences though, for what endings they use, as well as more importantly, the intonation you hear is going to be a little different. But overall, it's the same. Like if you were to learn Busan dialect and then travel to Daegu, which isn't even that far away, then you're going to think everyone's just speaking the same way. But if you pay close attention, there are some differences. Because I have some friends from both Daegu and a few friends from Busan, and there are a little bit differences in the way that they talk. But overall, it's the same. Maddie says, is learning Korean dialects more a matter of getting used to them, or do you have to be studied? If you already know regular Korean and you live in an area for long enough, you'll get used to hearing those dialects. So no, you don't really need to study them separately. But if you want to understand what it is you're saying, instead of simply copying what you hear other people saying, you want to understand for yourself the feeling better, then yeah, you would have to study it, just like anything. And yeah, Jeju, good luck with that. But to be fair, although people in Jeju speak a variety of Korean, which is kind of like Jeju dialect, it's really more like standard Korean sprinkled with Jeju dialect words and expressions and sprinkled with a little bit different grammar. It's not full-on Jeju dialect. Nobody speaks Jeju language or Jeju dialect anymore, with the exception of maybe a few thousand people who are all over the age of 80. There is no more like when you think when you hear like Jeju dialect is, you know, over 70% different than standard Korean. That's not Jeju today. That is what it used to be. The language is dying. You know, that's like if they're like, you know, there's only a handful of speakers who actually speak Jeju natively. Everyone else, it's flavored Korean. So if you were to go Jeju, you would have no problem understanding anyone. There would be some fun words you pick up. You're like, oh, they say this. But it's kind of like you go to Texas. People don't say howdy partner in Texas, you know. They talk normally for the most part. You might hear some expressions here and there, but they're not going to be like, man, this dog here go down the drain. You're not going to hear some sentence that doesn't make any sense. Unless you talk to someone like really, really, really old, it's going to be comprehensible. So that's the same with Jeju dialect today. Let's see. If Codinyo and Koyo can both express, August, you might have missed the whole lesson. Let's see. Okay, Robin LV says, could you tell the difference between 저렴하다 and 싸다? Yes, 저렴하다 is more of to be inexpensive. So something's affordable. Something's a good price. It's cheap. 저렴하다. 싸다 is not. 싸다 actually means cheap. So it can have negative connotation with it, just like saying something's cheap in English. Man, this thing's cheap. It broke in one day. It's cheap. You wouldn't say 저렴해요. That means inexpensive. This thing's very affordable. It broke in one day. They would say, well, I guess that's too bad. But if you say this thing's cheap, 싸요, 싸. You get 되게 쌌어, 싸. 싼 물건이야. It's really cheap. Then they're like, oh yeah, 당연히. Well, of course, it broke in one day. You know, it has the connotation difference. So 싸다 would be more like a colloquial expression, like it's cheap, and 저렴하다 would be like you'd see it on signs and everything, you know, inexpensive, or I bought it very inexpensive. It was very good price. It was inexpensive when I bought it. So yeah, that's the difference. Someone said, I'm in Texas too. Howdy, partner. Nice. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, how many people in Texas legitimately speak like that? Like with, you know, like Sandy from SpongeBob. How many people in Texas actually speak like that? Probably not that many. Although if you live in Texas, you probably know some. But I'm guessing most people speak just like, for the most part, they speak normally. They don't have a thick accent. So it's kind of the same thing in what's going on in Jeju, but more extreme. They're actually, I think they've counted, actually, there are only like 4,000 or 5,000 people, and they're all over the age of like 80 who actually speak Jeju as a language. And that is different. That is like over 70% unique from standard Korean. What the average person, adult or kid in Jeju speaks is not the Jeju language anymore. It's simply a dialect, kind of like Busan dialect. It's a version of standard Korean, which is more or less completely comprehensible between both. So if you visit Jeju, you're not going to have a problem. Just learn a few of their phrases. You'll learn 혼자 없어요, like, 어서 오세요 or whatever, or 빨리 오세요 or whatever. I believe that is, yeah. 혼자 is quickly. Now I have to search because I did a whole video about that. Yeah. 어서 오세요. Yeah, okay. So you'll learn a few of those phrases like that, 편안 한국어, like any of the 반갑습니다, that kind of stuff, and then you're good. Or calling out to people with 삼촌, even if they're not your uncle or they're a girl or whatever. Like that kind of stuff. You just learn a few of that and then you're good. You don't need to like memorize this whole dialect or anything to have a fun time over there. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the howdy. If I ever meet anyone on the street who says howdy, I know they're from Texas. Howdy. You reckon I can get a good bite to eat over here? Yep. Okay. A lot of Texans. Okay. I've never been to Texas before, so I have no idea. Are there a lot of people who actually talk like that? I assumed that they just talk normally, except for maybe some older people. Walker says, how about people who speak like Boomhauer? That's a good example. Yeah. Although he actually is speaking. He actually is talking. I heard that it's not like mumbling. He actually is talking, but I can't understand what he's saying. Someone said, Sandra asks, where can I find the audio for Korean Made Simple books? Those are on my website. If you click on the right side of the screen, it says audio for Korean Made Simple. You can get the audio for all 3 books and all 3 workbooks. And everything is on there on the same page. Maddie asks, are Korean dialects linked strongly to stereotypes? Yes, they are. In fact, that is why the Jeju dialect, one of the reasons, actually, I'd say not the major reason. The major reason is because they're not alive anymore. The secondary major reason is because there's a big stereotype about every dialect has a different stereotype. Some are negative. Jeju is, a lot of people kind of see it as negative as well in Korea. Like, nah, that guy talks funny. Kind of like that. So a lot of people that are from Jeju suppress their Jeju dialect when they're not around their family. Because they don't want to be made fun of. They don't want to be like treated as like, dancing monkey. They don't want to have people just telling them like, do this, say this. So they'll purposely not use their dialect. And then because of that, they slowly kind of forget it. So yes, there are images. It's not like a negative, such a strong negative image of the dialect as much as it is. They kind of feel like it's funny, I guess. A lot of people will hear it and they'll be like, oh, that sounds so funny, like that. And the people who speak that might not want that. So they'll kind of hide it when they go to other places. Small. Oh, I think I might have replied to your message. Send me another email. I thought I replied to that. But yeah, I said, if you just let me know exactly send me an email and say exactly what you purchased and I'll just send you a new link to it. Because I know you small. Sandy from SpongeBob speaks the true Texan dialect. Does she? Because it sounds like it is. Hey there, howdy there, SpongeBob. Yeah. I can't do Sandy's voice because it's a girl. Sandy! Hey, Sandy. I can kind of do SpongeBob or Patrick. SpongeBob. Or a little bit Squidward. Ahoy, SpongeBob. A little bit of the Mr. Krabs. That's the limit. Let's see. Jimin from BTS was mocked for his Busan dialect in their early trainee days. That's common too. So I know we're not really here to talk about dialects, but yeah, Busan dialect also has an image of guys who speak it. They have an image of, I'm just telling you what the image is. I'm not saying I support this, but the image of a man speaking Busan dialect is that the man is more manly. And the image of a girl speaking Busan dialect is that she's kind of like spunky and cute. So that's the image that you get of Busan dialect. And some people, when they speak that way, people might mock them for it. Maybe it's not in a mean way, but like in a, you said that, ha ha ha. And I have several friends from Busan. And only one of them I can think of off the top of my head. Only one of them I know actually still talks like that. The other ones switched and they speak like regular, Seoul dialect. I'm not sure. I'm guessing maybe it's because they don't want people to bug them about it. But yeah, one of them I know, my friend Mangi, he's really cool. He still totally talks like Busan. So I've been wanting to get him on a video one time. He's really shy though, but he has a really thick, like that really stereotypical Busan guy voice with all the intonation. But a few of the other friends I have who are from Busan or Daegu, they don't talk like that at all, unless they're with their family. But they speak completely normally. I say normally like standard Korean. Most Texans sound more like Dan Rowler. Okay. Some people saw squirrels with earthy. I'm not sure what you mean. Don't like a lot of celebrities hide their dialect. Yeah. Isn't it it's the same way with, same way with celebrities. You might have like, do most people know, like, what is it? Hugh Jackman, isn't he Australian? A lot of actors are British, but they speak with American accents. Like, who's that? Why can't I think of his name? Super famous Batman actor. It starts with a C. No, why can't I think of it? Oh yeah, Christian Bale. Okay, good. I didn't have to search. Christian Bale, he speaks with like a strong English accent, but then or Tom Hardy, they talk like with American accents. I don't know if they're doing it to hide it, but a lot of actors don't talk the way they actually do unless they're in front of the camera. And sometimes you can watch interviews and they'll do like imitations of other actors and they'll speak nothing like they do in the movie. And you're like, what's going on there? Oh, that's probably their normal voice. Famously, like Gilbert Gottfried, he doesn't talk like that. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if anyone doesn't know who that is. A bunch of famous actors don't talk at all like the way that they present themselves. Whether it's part of their character or maybe they're embarrassed about their voice or for marketing reasons, So you'll get the same thing in Korea. A lot of actors or actresses will talk very differently when they're being filmed or on TV than they would talk normally. The guy from Walking Dean, that sounds like a very heartfelt drama. Walking Dean. Dean was a young boy without the ability to walk. Harry was his best friend, always supportive of Dean. Premiering at 5 a.m. on the History Channel, Walking Dean, an adventure like no other. Let's see. Tom Holland, that's true. I haven't even heard him talk normally. I guess he's also Tom Holland. The name sounds British, so he's probably British. 응답하라 showcases the Busan dialect, and there are other shows that give glimpses into other dialect. I've never seen the show, but yeah, there are some shows that have, for example, I think 태양의 후예, is that the right show? One of them, there was like, that featured like Korean army talk. There's different shows like that. I know who Gilbert Gottfried. Pee Wee Herman's another. Yeah. Pee Wee Herman, I saw him live. Actually, this was like February 2020? Yeah, 2020 February. He had a live performance and I got to see him. He talks totally normal. Yeah. Doesn't talk anything like his character. He's very, very like soft spoken, I guess, and talks completely normally. He was talking though for probably 2 hours at that. Let's see. Someone said, where does the key... Okay, I should go. So let me just do one more question. Someone said, what does the key come from, like ikiru? It's the nominalization form key. And you don't need to memorize it separately, but it's used in forms. This is one that's used in grammar forms. So that will be the verb stem plus ki, and then 르 is the object marker. 바라다 is just to hope or wish. So literally, I wish for the doing of something, whatever. 건강하기를 바래. 바라요 is what the correct way should be. 건강하기를 바라요. For example, I hope or wish for your health. 건강하다, 건강하기, being healthy. I did a live stream all about that. If you search nominalization or ki, or for example, yeah, I have a couple of videos actually about nominalization. So I would recommend checking that out. But the gi one is specifically used for grammar forms or for making lists. Matthew McConnelly is texted. Yeah, you didn't have to tell me that. I can tell. I can tell he's got an accent. Let's see. Okay, one more question, then I'll go for today. And yeah, thank you again. I did a short live stream yesterday for 500,000 subscribers. It's like incredible. And my next goal, of course, is 1 million. So let's go for that. I've got some ideas for filming in Korea. If you have any requests for videos you'd like to see me film this time in Korea, please let me know as soon as possible. Because like right now, like as in this week, I am planning my trip already. I'm planning like what videos I want to make, who I can meet, and everything like that. So if you want me to do a collab with someone who I already know, let me know. If you want us to do something together. If you want me to meet a new channel, let me know. Or contact them and tell them to do one with me as well, because I might not have their contact information. Just let me know if you have any ideas for what you'd like me to film in Korea this time. And hopefully I can do some more fun videos when I'm over there during my next trip. Maybe some more interviews as well. If there's questions you'd like me to ask Koreans, I'll be doing some more street interviews. Let's see. One more question. $1 million So you have chosen death. Yes. Tay Slade. You wouldn't just want to comment them here. I'd say comment them in my Discord channel. That would be a good place to put them up there for requests. More collabs with Hyunwoo, Jaerim. Yeah, I would like to. Definitely. I'll definitely meet Hyunwoo when I'm there. Whether he likes it or not, I'm just going to show up in his office. I know where he works. I'm just going to show up there one day with my cameras. Be like, hey, Hyunwoo, let's film a video. He's going to be like, I have an important meeting. I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'll wait. You know. And then Jaerim and Ara, it depends. Ara is in Busan. So if I can get over to there, then I can meet. If I can get down to Busan again, I can meet her. And then Jaerim, if she's in Korea as well, she's actually going to be, I believe, in Ulsan. So we'll see. Maybe I can go there, which is also close to Busan. I've been to there before as well. They're all a little different. Jordy says I'll be there in September. I won't be there in September this year. But if you're there after September, I'll go again, probably October or November. So yeah, I'll be in Korea a couple times this year. All right. Thank you everyone for coming. Oh, it looks like the train's starting again. Okay. This is good. I might be able to actually get off soon. Let me get my equipment stuff. Thank you everyone. Thank you for coming. Special thanks as well to our sponsors for today, Jackie, as well as Samantha and Professor Koa. And I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Get this off here. Oh no, don't close the door. Don't close the door.